Good morning,
Hello.
ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome to At the Inn of the Pop Rocks. I'm Matt. With me, as always, is Sebastian and Biscuits. Apparently, is what we're.
We have now
being
nicknamed
christened.
Michael Biscuits.
I am not biscuits. Please don't
Actually, it's
compare
his
me to
dog's
that dog.
nickname.
Anyways,
But we like biscuits.
What's going on, boys? How's the week gone?
we like biscuits.
We like biscuits. I have some news which just dropped yesterday or Wednesday.
You have some nudes?
News.
Also that.
Okay.
Send me a private PM. I'll send. No, just kidding.
Sebastian will be setting up an OnlyFans.
So everyone knows that Netflix has jumped into the foray of live streaming and live sports, aka with a huge WWW. How many W's did I say? Two.
www. dot.
Wrestling.
Yeah, their big $1 billion foray or partnership with the wrestling company.
Mm-hmm.
It was just announced Jake Paul versus Mike
you.
Tyson,
Fuck.
July 20th on Netflix.
Yes, I saw that.
God.
Listen,
And his stupid little brother got his stupid little energy drink contracted to be in the middle of the fucking wrestling ring.
hey, they're smart businessmen.
Hey, fake news.
You can love them or hate them, but they know exactly what they're doing. They're very, very good marketers, and they have a very good product. Jake Paul is actually like, I look at Jake Paul like this. I don't personally like him that much, but I've started to respect him way more throughout the last couple of weeks, months, and whatever. I've seen how he is with his, I guess it's his fiance, his girlfriend, and he's actually genuinely a nice guy. But I just think that he plays this villain role for boxing because it sells. You want to see Jake Paul get knocked out.
It's all for the clicks, man. That's what it is.
It's all for the clicks. But that's the way boxing has always been. You're always going to put, at least for like since John King got involved, because it's all, I personally, no matter how good I am as a boxer, a young up and coming Jake Paul, I guess, because he's trying to become like this great boxer, I would never ever step in the ring with Mike Tyson, regardless of how old he was.
Tyson's 58, so
I've told my Mike Tyson story, and I don't care if he's 58, even if he's half the size. No.
Have you seen his training videos recently?
No.
Jesus, he looks like a beast.
Well, it's all about the chin. If he still has his chin, he'll be okay. If he's old and doesn't have his chin, it's not going to last long, right? Look at Francis Ngannou last night.
Yeah, that's right.
Dude got KO'd in the second round. Like, come on.
There's no way that was actually like he was actually going to win that.
No,
he's a UFC fighter. Yeah, I understand. He has one of the hardest.
Tyson. I think Tyson Fury was out of shape for that fight, and then I think Anthony Joshua probably trained and tried, and then Joshua was a really good boxer, and he just picked him apart and ate him alive.
Yeah. So that's big news.
The Paul brothers are clearly good athletes. I mean, there's a lot. I don't know boxing that well. There's a lot of chatter out there that they're getting soft opponents, and it's a show.
That's always been the way in boxing, though. Like
and boxing's also, it's not known for being completely 100% on the up and up either. It's not as bad as pro wrestling, but his little brother, the obnoxious little twerp, who as of yesterday I just fucking can't stand because he's desecrated the center of my ring.
Well, you can't blame him for that. You can blame all your buddies that run the whole show.
I agree.
Right?
It is definitely something that Endeavor has put together. Because, well, we do it for UFC. Go fuck yourself. I don't like it.
I don't know, man.
Athlete, he puts on a solid show. He's done some incredible stuff for his 8 or 10 matches that he's done. Can't take away the athleticism, but I think Seb's hit the nail on the head where they're playing characters. Period. Logan is clearly in a better a better spot for it because it's expected. I don't think Jake playing a character in the boxing world is as expected, but I mean, we've seen this sort of shit with, going back to Tito Ortiz and Conor McGregor and Money Mayweather.
And look at Sugar Sean O'Malley. He's fighting tonight. He is a character too. He's
Gemma tuning in from over there in the UK, also irrationally angry about that.
Was that on like Raw or
Thank you.
something?
What's that?
Was that on Raw or something? The
last night
Prime
on
logo?
SmackDown.
Oh, SmackDown.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
awkward.
I saw a meme and I was watching the week prior, and I stopped and I went. I'm like, sure enough, very first segment, I'm just like, this is obnoxious. Anywho, I can go on and on about that, but I do have plans to get Cheap Seat booking back in order in time for WrestleMania and a new schedule.
At least do one show for that, right?
Well, I have a second project that was suggested, and I'm thinking I'm going to alternate weeks with that. Do a wrestling one, and then the new project that I'm starting to put together. So it'll be every other week for one of those, because I don't have a whole lot of time, I've discovered. These things do take
life does that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I got 2 kids that work that are left in the house, so I end up doing a lot of Uber driving to and from work in the afternoons. So finding the time, and these shows are not.
There is no time.
I mean, we've got this one down pretty well for what we
Well,
get.
it helps
going
that it's
there.
live. That helps,
It does.
right?
We are live.
Yeah, and it's live, and it's live to tape. I don't do a lot of editing on this, and if we pull a YouTube strike or something like that, there's software that edits it out for me. I just have to click accept, which it's fine. I think I've got it wired down to when I know when to check what will pull a strike and what won't. Anyways,
yes.
Speaking of YouTube strikes, because they're mainly dealing with music. We're gonna talk pop music today, which is a lot of people are like, I have asked me this week, it's like, what are you guys doing? I was like, pop music. Like, you guys are doing pop music.
Yeah.
Like,
Hey, we threw
your
it out
earworms, buddy.
Yeah.
You can't avoid it. I was thinking about it all week because I'm like, I don't have a whole lot, but yeah, and you know what I do? There's been a lot over the years. It's unavoidable.
Well, let me just say this. Okay, so we all have continuously talked about how the depth of music means so much to us. When a band really roots down into their soul and delivers something that's, absolutely amazing on such a soulful level, But sometimes
we need a little Kylie Minogue in our lives or something.
Yeah. Right? You just want to have a good time. You just want to, home for a rest, for example.
There's a lot of pop music.
And you just want to have a drink and not have to go down this, this Tool depthness. You just want to, have some flavor.
You want to feel the groove, and you just want to just enjoy the ride.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because that's one of the ones that sort of popped into my head. It's an old school earworm. It was one of the songs that you would hear in the late 90s when you're out at the club. They would
Can't get you out of my head, baby.
Late at night, if not the dead last song. And then all of a sudden, everybody in the bar figured they were Michael Flatley. Right?
Then they realized their knees can't bend that way.
Well, now we do. But
and you're like, oh God, I should probably
and it is
stop.
Fun as shit to sing. I've done that one at karaoke a bunch of times. And it's one of those ones people just want to get up and dance and, pretend that, like I said, they are Michael Flatley. You can't. I mean, I don't think it's ever worked out for anybody in a bar ever at any point. But I mean, these things get in your head. They're radio friendly, which is why they are. I mean, it's popular music. That's exactly what it was short for. So it's really, pop music is across all genres, because you just have to look at the ones that are being played, that are memorable, that are classic.
Pop music also is very it's based on your perspective of what you think pop music is. Like, so some people would say Elvis is pop music, but some people say, well, at the time it was rock and roll, but like now it's like pop music. So it's like it sometimes is hard to define, like is Jay-Z pop music?
Well, I mean, that's
Drake pop music.
Into my point. Yeah. He is one of the more popular musicians in his genre. So it kind of leans into that.
Yeah.
It's Sarah coming in there totally agrees with you. It is subjective. I think the easiest way to define it is it played on the radio
on certain radio
incessantly,
stations. Yeah, there's
right?
like, yeah,
That's where the hits come from, because they get requested. They get, I mean, they get into your head. These little earworms, these one hit wonders, and
Hey.
you find yourself singing it. I mean, we listen to Sea Fox at work a lot.
Matt, you nailed it on the head. And I mean, this is how you remind me all the time of.
Amazing.
I see what you did there.
Yes.
But I mean, one of the
Nickelback joke for everybody out there that didn't understand that.
Old
was a
Nickelback joke. That's a callback and a half.
So, but that's a song itself. It was like, I think it holds a record for having the most radio play at like one time. I think at one point it was playing more on radio stations than the actual song length. So if they continued to play it, it would just loop globally. So there's always a radio station playing it at any minute of the day.
Hey, that's a sign of winning, baby.
That, I mean, it is, and that's and it was I believe the first Nickelback album, the one that dropped at about 2000, 2001, and
no, it was their second. If you want to go technical, it was their second record. Come on, man. It was Silver Side Up. I don't even have anything pulled up. I'm a loser, but because the first one was like,
like,
Dude,
Sarah's got a good point.
Was the third
radio
one,
stations have kind of been outed as, pay to play. I mean, we saw this in the Metallica Some Kind of Monster documentary. James was pissed when a radio station.
It's the third one.
Oh, it's their third record.
Because they did Curb was the first one, the State was the second one,
the State was the second,
and then Silver Side Up was like their big release one.
I got confused.
Yeah, that's
easy these days.
But I don't think there was a single song off Curb that really anyone knows. Anyways, sorry, Matt.
I mean, and it's one of those things. I mean, recently, what'll happen is I'll get a song stuck in my head. I'll be like, God, this is irritating. And then I'll be wandering around and I'll find myself singing it. The most recent one is Runaway to Mars by Talk.
That is a great song, though.
It's
a fantastic song.
It really is. And I just like, oh God, if this song comes on, like it's one of those things. It's almost like the radio station has a set playlist, and they just like, oh, we don't even choose songs anymore. We just play the same songs at the same time every day. And it's one of those ones that I would hear in our over top of our, we call it a toolbox meeting, but really, you know what? It not a whole lot of talking. It's more of a, we're going to have coffee so we can be civil to each other. And then we will go down and start playing with the chemicals.
If you've ever actually deep dived the lyrics to that song, it's a good set of lyrics.
I've looked the lyrics up specifically because it's one of those ones that I don't think I can pull off all the notes, but I think I can get close enough that it might be fun to do at karaoke. So it gets stuck in my head like that, and that's what I look at. Is I go to the lyrics. Mike, have you heard that one at all?
Never heard of it.
What's Never heard of again? Runaway to Mars by Talk.
Okay.
It's a solid earworm. What about you, Mike? Where your earworms lay with this pop music? Big Sugar, you were big on Big Sugar way back in the day, and they were all over the radio.
Yeah. Like when I can take it back to the beginning. When I was a kid, I was telling Seb the other day, before I discovered, loud guitars and the metal and rock and roll and all the 60s stuff. I was a pop kid. I loved, Paul Abdul, New Kids. I was, Madonna, all that stuff. CNC Music Factory, embarrassingly enough.
That's a great band.
And now, and I've sort of kept all that stuff sort of on the back burner, my whole life. And now that I have a 12-year-old daughter, she loves, like, she is a pop music fanatic. And we watched the retro music video channel a lot. So there's a lot of 80s and 90s stuff that I used to listen to, and now that she's really getting into, and it's Tay-Tay all day around here a lot of the time. She's big into BTS, all the Korean, all the K-pop stuff.
Oh yeah,
even there's some J-pop going on. But I just eat it up. It's just because I search for a groove. Like like all the songs that I really like have a certain, I don't know if it's the BPM, whatever that does it for me. There's a groove that if it gets into my head, like the Kylie Minogue song, I can't get you out of my head. I just had it on, and it's like it's hit that whatever that beat is, it hypnotizes me. And same with like there's like songs like Hung Up by Madonna and just ones that have the, I don't know, it's just I search for it in metal too. I search for the groove. It's all about the groove. And I don't care who's singing. I don't care if there's guitars or not. If it's synth pop, if it's dance music, it's whatever. That it's just the music, right?
So here's an interesting question from Sarah. What do you consider to be the most common guilty pleasure pop song? The one that everyone makes fun of, but we all know the lyrics.
Oh, Hit Me Baby One More Time. It's got to be.
I was actually going to say that. Something like Britney Spears or New Kids on the Block back in the day.
Sure.
Like they kind of fell off.
I wouldn't call it a guilty pleasure, but I do know all the words for it. Wannabe by the Spice Girls.
Well, there's that too. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
So,
Mike, you guys know I how I feel about those women. It's not good feelings.
Oh, I got to bring up something later that I had a long discussion after our podcast last week with my wife and my daughter.
Yeah.
Got you. It kind of got you in their crosshairs. So,
me or Matt?
No, Matt.
Yeah, okay, probably.
Well, I want to be on Sherry's bad side. I'm telling you right now. Gotta watch out for
don't defend me, man.
Mama
leave me to die on the hill.
Mike, you did mention something that I just want to touch upon.
Sure.
Now, it's like I think some of the most popular pop songs, they have this groove, this dance feel to it where you just kind of like go into the song. Yes. But a lot of the best ones actually have a much deeper meaning into the song. Absolutely. Like the one that example that comes to mind, which arguably might be the greatest pop song at its time when it came out in the history of us listening to pop music, was Gangnam Style by Psy.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh,
but
God, yeah.
If you actually go into what the song represents, it's a very specific and very concerning issue that happens in Korea, right? Because there's this area of Korea called Gangnam, which the richest people in Korea live, and it's so outlandish. The song is basically a satire on what these people spend money on. And you know, it's like you can't go to if you're not in Gangnam, you can't go to school there. Like you can't move in there and go to school. Wow. Like it's like Beverly Hills meets the Hamptons in one in Korea. And so if you ever watch the video, it's basically a ridiculousness overstatement of what it means to be in that style of life. Right. So there's a very deep meaning of what he's trying to tell the world and trying to bring attention. And I think he not only brought the attention of this issue to the world, but he did it in a fun dance way. And it was like, I don't know if you've ever watched him with MC Hammer at the Grammys that one year, but the entire crowd was doing the dance. Like they had the camera probably more on the crowd than any other song I can ever remember being played on the Grammys. They kept showing the crowd because the crowd was so into it. And so, you know, plus a lot of people don't realize that he is like a massive icon in Korea.
Oh yeah.
Like globally, he wasn't until he released that song. But yeah, to your point, you know, a lot of these pop songs feel light and airy, but if you actually like look through the lyrics, there's actually something there. You know, there's something there. So
interesting. And wasn't he the first like YouTube sensation too? Like he was the first like
I think he was the first.
Very early into it, at the very least, yeah.
Right.
I think he was the first to hit 1 billion views on a video ever in the history of YouTube, or something like that.
Something like that.
He broke the record. So I mean, I think since then it's been broken by other artists.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
At the time, I think he was the first one to cross 1 billion views. Dude, I remember I was working in nightclubs when that song came out, and every night you play it, and the entire building, from all of the servers to the bartenders to everyone, it's just, I guess that's kind of like what I mean when pop music is infectious and like everyone has a good time with it. It's not genre specific, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It just, people just like it because it's a good tune. It's infectious. So, but yeah.
Interesting.
Anyways, Psy, it wasn't even going to think about it, but
so here we go. In November 2005, a Nike advertisement featuring Brazilian football player
All right, there you
I'm
go.
not even going to attempt.
It's Ronaldinho.
Ronaldinho became the first video to reach 1 million views. The billion mark was first surpassed by Gangnam Style in December 2012. And then Baby Shark became...
Hey,
it's played in my house once a week at least.
God.
But like, what does this actual statement tell you, right? Like, Gangnam Style breaks a record on YouTube. It's a pop song. Baby Shark, you can kind of say it's a pop song. It's a kid's song,
it's 100%
but it's a pop song.
Yeah.
So, let's see if those lyrics are thought provoking.
So,
Baby Shark.
Baby Shark goes,
there's a real deep meaning to Baby Shark. Come on.
You get
might be.
Probably is.
Yeah. Baby Shark is one of those ones where all the kids, it hit right when all the kids were like being given tablets because, like, oh, sweet Jesus, give mommy 10 minutes. And they found Baby Shark. So it's just over and over. So right when that came out, my wife and I were coming back from Florida, and we were on an airplane. I believe we were coming out of Miami, and one of our flight attendants had this weird little mohawk deal that looked like a shark's fin. And we just took a look at him like, oh Jesus. And Baby Shark stuck right in my head. And every time he walked by, my wife very subtly would go, do, 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 do. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm going to start fucking laughing. Yeah, it just, and for like a solid 5 hours, every time we saw this guy, it was just like, and yeah, I couldn't handle it. It was, but I mean, that's the key to pop music, right? Is you get catchy, and it's those earworms that sort of stick there, and you go through some phases of, oh my God, why? Followed by this, please, dear God, please don't put it on the radio. I'll pay you not put it on radio. You go through the 5 stages of grief, really. And then you just, like I was saying earlier, you just find yourself singing it at random, and you may catch yourself and go, what am I doing? What am I doing?
And it you know what? It's okay. It's okay.
It is.
Well, that's the thing. I was just gonna say it's okay.
It's all good.
Like what you like. Gives a shit.
Did you guys ever see? There was a TikTok video that was going out, and there was it was Disturbed live in concert, and they were not singing; they were having a chat, and then someone said something negative about Taylor Swift.
Yes.
And he pointed it out. He's like, you are an idiot. Like, basically, he's like, Taylor Swift is an amazing human being, and she's like, Disturbed called out this fan in the middle of the audience, right? And it's just like, I'm not gonna say I hate, but I don't have a lot of respect for people that just pigeonhole their music in genres just to say, well, I can't listen to this because it's not in my genre. I'm like, why not? Like, why not? Why can't you listen to pop music? I don't listen to country, but I listen to Chris Stapleton. I listen to Colton Wall. Yeah. Like, I listen to some specific country because I like it, but I don't consider myself a country star or a country listener of stars. Like, so, but yeah, don't you do yourself a massive disservice by like not listening to music just because it's from a different genre that you may not accept. Like, you guys ever watch reaction videos?
Oh yeah.
On YouTube, you see all those like hip hop guys that watch Metallica, and they're like, "This is lit. This is amazing." You know, like that to me warms my heart when people that are not normally into that genre start exploring music and they find good stuff. Yeah.
I just want to share another TikTok that was sent to me. It involves an old school pop band. Let me just sort this out here.
You need to hit the sound button.
There's
a button that says sound on it.
Yes,
I know you're trying to look for it, but you muted your thing.
I know.
It's not.
So the singing voice
there you go.
of adult Simba.
It means no worries for the rest of your days.
Who's also the lead singer of the band Toto.
That's not a surprise.
Is the son of the maestro of movies, John Williams. I did not know that.
That's amazing.
Well, that makes sense because Toto's like one of the most prolific songwriting sort of studio bands of all time.
Mhm.
And Africa
And
is
to
a
have
pop
one of the
song,
main
a
guys
pop
being the
song.
son of the goat of musical scores for movies,
Right.
Kind of
Undeniably the
makes
goat.
sense,
And
right?
and for those that
Howard
are
Shore might have
not
something to say
watching,
to that, but
he sang the Gummy Bears song while I was jittery and discombobulated there. So I mean that's a hell of an interesting career
Right.
path. What's going on, Keith? How's it going, buddy? In our comments, not the original singer of Toto, though, as being pointed out in our comment section. But yeah, I mean that's an interesting sort of way to get going there, isn't it? Like the connections are there. I mean, clearly a musical family.
yeah.
So that was something I learned off of TikTok about pop music last night, actually.
So
go ahead. Sam.
What's like? I know pop music isn't usually on our radar of things that we normally go to, but like, what are some of your influences or things that you're listening to right now that you're like, I really dig this? I mean, for me, I keep mentioning her on every random podcast that we do, but Ellie Goulding for me is like one of my favorites currently. I just adore her. Her energy is so indie cute, if you know what I mean. Like, independently cute as an independent artist is, and just her singing style and her technique. And I watched her on the it wasn't Dick Clark's, but it was the LA one for New Year's Eve, whatever. And she killed it live, like killed it. She is a phenomenal live performer. So anyone that's listening to the podcast, if you haven't checked out Ellie Goulding, I highly suggest you do it. Her hit song is Lights. That's very popular. But yeah, so what about you guys?
I mean, Sarah agrees with you. She's amazing. I probably heard the song and I'm just not placing it.
I guarantee you've heard the song.
Currently, I don't know. One of the ones that got stuck in my head and Mike was saying he's got a big Tay-Tay fan in the house. I found that it was when my kids were getting into music, I ended up pulling some more pop stuff, some Jonas Brothers, but Selena Gomez really got into my head a couple of times. And some early Miley Cyrus as well. But I mean, there was one night just to mess with my friends and a full karaoke bar mid-show. I did a Selena Gomez song, and you could hear the needle come off the record really when that started. There's like, okay, who's singing this? And then
put the needle on the record.
Yeah.
Put the needle on the record.
Yeah. It's just
when the drum beat goes like
wait, no, the guy that does Alice in Chains and Filter and Garth Brooks is doing what now?
Okay. Can we just actually highlight how Miley Cyrus's career has just blossomed over the last like decade?
Oh yeah.
Like she's kind of transcended from being a pop artist and Hannah Montana thing to actually like carving her own kind of way into music. Like, yeah, she's still pop music, but she definitely spreads out her wings or flat, Oh my God. In a rare footage, my other cat is behind me. That is not the same cat that is normally there. That is the boy. What? He's taking up.
And what a boy.
Yeah. He's just going to exist there. So yeah, Miley Cyrus, also great. I mean, we all remember her on the Grammys with Metallica when James's mic wasn't working.
That was Lady Gaga.
Sorry?
That was Lady Gaga.
Oh, Lady Gaga, yeah. No, sorry. I'm crossing. Yeah. What did she do? She did
Nothing Else Matters.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes. And that's Miley doing that. It wasn't just her either, right? Like she had Yo-Yo Ma, and actually I have that in my Spotify. It's an all-star list with her doing that. Elton John was doing the pianos for that.
Andrew Watt was on guitar.
And I think Rob Trujillo was doing the bass, wasn't he?
Did you ever see?
Maybe.
I think it was on Howard Stern when Metallica was there. I don't know if it's Howard Stern to be honest, but I know Metallica was on a talk show, and Elton John was on as well through the phone.
That was Stern.
Yeah, and he had some very high praise about Nothing Else Matters, like saying it's one of the best songs ever written. And James is just sitting there like in stunned silence.
Yep.
Like, I
Oh,
can't
yeah.
believe I'm
Right?
getting accolades from Sir Elton John, who's a very prolific songwriter, but he's just kept going off about the melodies of the song and how it's constructed. And, you know, just to hear that from such an icon though, like how amazing would that be to hear?
That's some serious
know,
validation, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And yeah,
Yeah,
I
oh,
think
absolutely.
I think musicians out of anyone are the least genre specific to music, honestly.
Mhm.
You know, like there was a clip I saw of Tom, I always mispronounce his last name, Araya from
Araya?
Slayer.
Mhm.
Araya, yeah, and they were asking him when this is like footage from the 80s about what his influences are, and none of his influences were metal related.
Of course
He's
not.
like, I never listened to
Yeah.
metal until I got in the band. Like he was like Fleetwood Mac
Mhm.
and like all sorts of like other bands, right? And just like now you can't. He's synonymous with thrash metal and heavy metal and Slayer, right? But like all his influences were rooted in different music. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, Dave Grohl's been on the record as saying like most of his drum licks he's lifted from disco songs.
yeah.
Absolutely. 100%.
The Smells Like
Right?
Teen Spirit, yeah. The drum track
So
of
yeah,
that
and
is like
then
disco track.
I've just found the reference. So it was also Chad Smith on drums with Miley Cyrus. So I mean that's Miley, Watt, Elton John, Yo-Yo Ma, Robert Trujillo, and Chad Smith. That's a hell of a little super group there for one song, right?
Chad Smith is so good.
But yeah, no, it's one of those things where you would think as a narrow-minded fan, and I'm going to go back to the Elton John thing, that it's like James Hetfield was praised by Elton John. It's like, oh well, Hetfield probably doesn't give a shit. No,
Oh, he
that's
cares.
not the case.
He cares.
And that's
He
you can see
absolutely
that
cares.
in I mean, go to Spotify and just type in covers and see the amount of covers that go back and forth between genres. Like I got a lot of pop songs that are done by hard rock bands that I mainly use for gym tunes. I mean, you turn around, you get a country artists doing a rock song, or hip hop artists like Run DMC did Walk This Way, right? Way back in the day.
Blending of
And
styles, right? And they both kept it on their personal records too, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good sorry, I was just looking something up. Have you guys ever watched the YouTube channel Drumeo?
no.
I think I've heard
So,
of it. I never watched it though.
I highly recommend everyone that's into music to check this out. So Drumeo is a drum centric YouTube channel, and they
Okay.
have a bunch of series on there, but one of them are they have they'll bring drummers in of other genres. So like they'll
wow.
bring a jazz drummer in to listen to a metal song, but they'll listen to the metal song without the drum track, and they come up with their own drum parts for that specific song. And it's
Interesting.
super fascinating to see like the blend of styles, and then they're like, well, have you ever heard this song? It's like, I have no idea who this is, right? And it'll be something like Gojira, for example, and it's like a jazz drummer playing to a Gojira track. And it's so super fascinating to see what they can come up with. They also have another series called First Time Listens. So
Yeah.
like Larnell Lewis hears Enter Sandman for the first time. He hears the track one time or maybe two times, and then they play the track again without the drums, and he literally almost nails the drums exactly correct, right? So
Why haven't you told me about this sooner? This is like right.
You
oh my
need to
God.
get into this. So they have like
I know what I'm
they
doing the
have-
rest of the day is just binging this.
Yeah, another good one is the Megadeth drummer. I cannot remember his name, but he
Oh,
listens to
I'm
Mr. Brightside.
Yeah,
and he's
it's
never
right
heard
in
the
front
song
of my
before.
face. Yes, I'm gonna put
So
this on up
good.
here.
Yeah, it's so good. I highly recommend that channel for everyone. So it's the Gojira one was pretty good too, where Luke Combs' drummer is on there.
Oh, that's
so you
cool.
get a country drummer in to play a Gojira track. Yeah,
We-
Mike's
we
gonna just be
lost
watching
Mike.
YouTube
Mike-
videos.
Mike is
for
now
this.
tuned out.
I'm
He's
just gonna put it on mute,
Yeah.
and you guys just talk.
So-
and I'm just gonna watch this stuff.
Highly recommend it. It's just awesome because we're talking about blending of styles. It's
Sure.
just like it's so fascinating. So yeah. Anyways,
So let's go back to some classic pop music.
Yes, let's.
I think as Mike was saying before, we all started liking pop music because it's all we could really get a hold of because it was just what was on in the car with our parents.
Yes.
I mean, once in a while we would get like the oldies station, but I mean, let's be honest here. Like,
Well,
some
back
of this
then the
stuff
oldie station was pop music, right?
Well, the
Yeah.
oldies was 50s and 60s music, right?
was it,
And
and that was there was a very different tone to oldies back then
Mhm.
as to oldies now. Maybe it's just the fact that we lived through it or I lived through it, but like you have one of those moments where it's like, oh, this album's 30 years old, and you start aging like it's the end of Indiana Jones. But
You
with
chose poorly.
and we were talking about this last night. I made a reference to Constable Bob from LG 73 back in the 80s there.
Oh,
Um,
I remember
nobody
LG.
in that-
Oh
nobody-
my god.
Nobody knew what Constable Bob was. I was just looked at like I had sprouted a head out
That's
of my
such a
freaking nostril.
specific comment to a small group of people.
Yeah.
LG 73. Oh my god. For anyone that don't know, LG 73 was our AM radio rock pop
It was
station
our-
when we
yeah.
was growing up.
Now it's
It's
traffic.
Is it
Yeah,
really?
Yep, it's the traffic
Yeah.
station.
Yeah,
now.
you
That's
tune in for
unfortunate.
traffic updates on the highways around the
Yeah.
low mainland, really.
Would
But
you
I
really
mean-
need a station for that? It's just like traffic sucks. No
You
matter
just
what time of
Google-
day, it's
You just Google it. You just Google Maps it, and
Right?
it shows
Yeah.
you all
Oh.
the danger zones.
well, you can just
I
open
mean,
your phone
it-
up and it'll tell you.
just-
Like,
Just
Yeah.
this last Tuesday, I had to go take a test during work hours. So I went and I did it, and I came back, and
Did you
my route
pass?
into work was blocked by a train that was stopped. So I waited, and I turned around. I went a mile up the road and came down another entrance, and it's the same train stopped. What I do? I opened my phone, went to the Twitter machine, and Googled, found the AM 730 traffic, and yeah, a train had run over a semi truck. So I'm like, okay, well, this is going to be interesting.
it's gonna be a
Anyways,
while.
so
Well, how does that even happen?
Back to the pop music point is LG 73 was playing pop music back in the day because
Correct.
that's where we got it, was our radio stations. And it doesn't matter where in the world you are, whatever radio station was playing current music, that was your intro to stuff when you first started. You weren't going to the record store to get into it. And until you went to the record store to find these pop albums, when you're a little bit older, you're getting let off the leash, you're saving your allowance, you didn't really discover much else, right? And then it was slowly around the 7th, 8th grade, as people are, buying their own albums and exploring and getting into other things, or the guy at the record store is like, God, you do not want this Creed album, try this. And you're walking out with
The Bee Gees.
the Bee Gees or something like that.
Yep.
So in the car with my mom, we had Green Day and The Offspring, and that's Gemma out there in the UK. Absolutely. I mean,
Awesome.
it's pop rock, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, back then it would have been considered alternative music, but now it's fair to say that it's
but
not.
it was they're the popular. They're the most popular of that, and so
Yeah.
it kind of leans into being pop. I mean, both of those bands started as a very punk sound, and that's where it grew out of. But I started listening to the radio in the 80s and really paying attention to the songs. I mean, we're talking Corey Hart, we're talking
Whoa,
I wear my
Starship,
sunglasses,
that had-
damn it.
that's a good one.
right?
Right.
And and it's we're getting a little Duran in there,
Mm-hmm.
and you just sort of attach itself to it. The most popular act on the Chris Jericho cruise for the last 2 years has been a cover band, and all they do is 80s pop covers, Guardians of the Jukebox. And there are several people in our live audience right now that can back me up on that. And they get in there and they just wail on it. They're doing all sorts of stuff. They got a few songs that are out on Spotify. I highly recommend checking them out.
Yeah, they're good.
If you are
I-
listening to them, if you're down in like the Georgia, Florida, like sort of that East
Fine.
Coast, Southern US, they do shows all the time, and it's just freaking amazing. It's a workout. It, like, people in there, you're dripping sweat. people are checking their phones like, well, I just been on a cruise, so you think you haven't done that many steps, but you're out there dancing your ass off for 2 hours. And it's just the most amazing collection of 80s pop music. And it just throws all of us back. And even the younger crowd that's there is just like, this is fan-fucking-tastic. I mean, Hungry Like the Wolf into, My Prerogative, and then we're getting into some Fleetwood Mac, and then Danger Zone's up next, and it just
do you guys?
It's a radio play's greatest hits, and it's fucking amazing.
There's one song from the 80s that just kind of popped into my head that I remember for like a time period. It was huge. Remember the song Rock On? Hey, kid, rock and roll.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Rock on.
Who sang that? Who sang that song?
Originally, or the
the version that you know.
Michael Damon, and he was
Michael Damian.
Michael Damian. Yeah, he was like Young and the Restless star.
He's a soap star. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he was like 12 years on it. But here's another interesting thing that I was reading. He did where is it? I think he did the cover song for Saved by the Bell as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. While Seb's looking that up, if you're in the chat with us, throw some pop songs at us. Let's get into it. Sarah throwing us Walk Like an Egyptian. I mean, that was
awesome
the
song.
Bangles really dropped a banger on that one, didn't they? And Guardians played that on the last cruise, and sure enough, everybody's out there doing the dance, and we were packed. So like people are getting poked in the eye and losing drinks.
Yeah.
Oh.
So Michael Damian was actually a singer before he became an actor. So he appeared on American Bandstand, and he was doing music before. And then I never watched Young and the Wrestlers, but his part on there was a struggling singer, so it makes sense. But
stretching.
yeah,
He was stretching.
He was stretching, yeah. But it says right here, Damien performed the theme song to Saved by the Bell.
Nice.
So,
and not the only pop star to come out of a soap opera background. Ricky Martin used to be on General Hospital.
Facts. Yep.
Here's a song Gemma's suggesting. Probably the most iconic video to come out of the 80s.
That video is so good.
Take
Mike,
on Me.
Or not Mike. Matt, can you do the high part? Can you sing that on karaoke?
No, I can't hit that note.
Who can hit that note, man? Come on. That is so high. That's a great song.
Yeah,
if you haven't seen the video, watch it. It is so cool.
It's an iconic video.
It is an iconic. I was on the other night upstairs, and it was
Mike,
just
for those people that don't know, why is it an iconic video? What makes the video so great?
Well, basically the girl in the video gets pulled into an illustration, and the singer of the band is in there, and then
it's the whole video is like pencil drawings, and
it's
like flipping a pencil
book.
book.
It's like a charcoal drawing, basically.
Yeah.
And it's really innovative, and it holds up. It looks good to this day.
Yeah, like I mean, that would have come out, I think, in the 80s.
Yeah,
I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But that's like an iconic video, like honestly. So
yeah.
And Sherry's chiming in.
Boom!
Even Mike's singing along with it.
Right.
So let's get a little sample here. If you're watching along, great. If not, go back and check this out on the YouTube, or look us up and watch us live.
Okay. So
I'm just gonna let that play for a second here.
Yeah, it's so cool. And she's in a diner, and the pages sort of come to life, and then he puts out his hand and she goes into the drawing. It's so cool.
Yeah, and it's we got the live action here, and she's reading a comic book. Nice big comic book. You want to see the old Conan? That's probably not it.
Thanks for the closed captioning. I wouldn't understand what he was saying.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm not going to risk the YouTube strike on that, but it is really definitely worth checking out.
But I will check out the Real Big Fish cover, because my daughter plays the trumpet, and maybe we can I can get her to play that.
That was my instrument at that age as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's an awesome trumpet player. It's so much fun. She's learning a passage from The Hobbit for school, and
Channel your inner Miles Davis.
and she can Miles Davis or Dizzy Gillespie.
Yeah.
But she's playing it, and it just like sent chills like up my spine. I'm like, this sounds just like the movie. It's so good. She's so much
Good
fun
for
to listen
her.
to. Yeah, she's so much fun to listen to. It she's got that musical gene. And
That runs
Nice.
in the family.
I mean, I wonder where she got it from, right? Is he?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe me, but she wants to learn how to play guitar. That's coming up this summer. So she's
Good for her.
Nice.
yeah. So we're
I mean,
bonding
she can
over
just borrow
music,
one of Dad's guitars.
right? She can just borrow my stuff and just play away all you like.
Yeah.
Good.
It's
That's
pretty
great
awesome.
for her.
And even Cooper, like he took band in grade 8, 7, whatever,
Yep.
and he's got the gift. Like he was so good. Like he never practiced. He played the clarinet in band. Never practiced once. He was first chair at the school thing. He didn't even care, and he was better than everybody else in his class. It was just like, and he hasn't touched an instrument since, really.
He's more the
bass.
athletic side of things, I think, right?
He's
Like,
more
he likes-
he's a swimmer.
Yeah.
That's more of the athletics he likes, is being in the pool. So
yeah, it's
yeah.
I remember
And
seeing
that's,
him swim.
you know, maybe she can write some theme music for us.
Maybe.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Or we
Get
can
the
do a
kids
cover
involved.
together or something.
Another iconic video, the Dire Straits, Money for Nothing. That song does not get a lot of play anymore because of one
for
particular
free.
word they drop in there. But that's on the no list. But I mean, that's also a solid video because it's, you know, that blocky, it almost, at the time it was a stylized animation, but it's very much like Minecraft for those of you that
Gonna say it's Minecraft, yeah.
it is Minecraft before Minecraft is kind of how it works out. It's a little cleaner in the lines, but it is same that blocky animation, and just watching MTV with the band's live performance sort of laid into where the TV is, like embedded is the word I've been searching for.
Embedded, it's a good word.
Yeah. I like that
There's
one.
a couple of iconic pop stars that we haven't talked about yet. Two in
Yeah.
particular that come to mind, which have interesting kind of, you know, controversial situations in their life. But one would be like
Mhm.
Michael Jackson, for example.
Mhm.
But he's
King
known
of
as the
pop.
king of pop. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm gonna put it out to you guys there on the spot. What's your favorite Michael Jackson song?
Ooh,
It's either
that's a
Billie
tough
Jean. It's
one.
either Billie Jean or Thriller. It's one of the two.
I have to go with Smooth Criminal, man. I don't know what it is about that song.
never
I
really- yeah.
freaking love that
Mhm.
song so much. Maybe it's the video, but
I prefer
it's-
the Alien Ant Farm version of that song compared to
That's
Michael
actually
Yes,
a good. That's actually a
absolutely.
good,
It's a
good
good
That's
version.
a really
It's a
good
really
cover.
good cover.
And that
Yeah.
one, I remember I got a store copy of that Alien Ant Farm album. I'd never heard of them,
Ah.
and it
See,
was
Gemma agrees with me. Smooth Criminal.
yeah.
Let's
Gemma
go,
agrees with you.
Gemma.
Keith coming in there with Thriller. Gemma's Smooth Criminal.
PYT's
Sarah's
good too.
having a stroke.
What? No, that's in the song. That's off of his '79 album, whatever that was called.
I
No, was
I
that
don't
off
know
Thriller
that one.
too?
Yeah.
I can't, it's
Um,
pretty. It's
I
pretty
think
young.
I gotta
thing.
go with. I mean, Thriller's fun. That was one of the two songs I would do during Halloween shows for the karaoke. I would do that and a little Rob Zombie. But Thriller always gets people up and trying to dance. Again, it was you do it late enough at night, and it's just like Home for Arrest. People are getting up there and they're trying their best to
Yep.
do it. I mean, and Walk Like an Egyptian, same thing. It's a very specific dance, and everybody, you can't help but do it. You can't help it. That song comes on, and you want to do and that's works for Thriller. That works for Home for Arrest. It works for Walk Like an Egyptian, and that's part of the appeal. Really, it's like you got to do the dance.
Yeah, sure.
As far as MJ goes, I'm probably gonna go with Beat It.
So I was just going to mention Beat It, and you know how we were talking about mixing of styles and genres.
My mama. Put that
Eddie-
up. My mom is listening. That's
absolutely.
amazing.
Maureen coming in. How you doing, Mama? Hi.
There we go.
There we go.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Tina,
just to
and
talk
Private
about-
Dancer.
Beat It
Yeah.
for a quick second here. Did you know that Eddie Van Halen wrote the solo for Beat It?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
he did.
So again, mixing of styles, right? You have at the time a metal. I mean, you can't really
I wouldn't
consider
go-
Van Halen metal.
No,
now,
hard rock.
But at
Yeah.
at the time, it was borderline hard rock metal. Yeah, getting called in by Quincy Jones and Michael Jackson to lay down a solo track for that song. So yeah, Tina
That's so
Turner,
cool.
man. What can you say about Tina Turner?
The biggest comeback record of all time, Private Dancer, right? She'd been
Absolutely.
toiling away for years
Absolutely.
and puts out one of the
Yeah.
greatest records of all time. And
Yeah.
it still holds
I
up
mean,
today.
and she, I mean, that I believe that was coming off all that nonsense with Ike too, right? If my timing
because
is
Private
correct
Dancer
on
was
that.
like 84, so she'd been
Yeah.
gone from Ike for a while, but she hadn't
Yeah.
been given a chance to do anything. And she was 40 when that came out, so it was like, okay, we got an older person, trying to get back into the biz, and it was kind of unheard of at that point. And she just came and crushed the world.
Yeah, and was Simply the Best in that era as well.
Yeah, that was like 89, I think.
Yeah, because she came out hot in the 80s.
Oh,
Really came out. I don't know if you ever fully recover from something like that, but as recovered as you can get from, all that nonsense with Ike, and she just came out and said, "Nah, let's go."
She was
it's
rocking
go time.
on well into her 80s though. Like,
Oh yeah,
she was still giving her. So
yeah, still had legs.
Yeah.
Had legs. Good Lord. Yeah, just a phenomenal talent there. You can't deny it. I mean, and then Van Halen again, I think this is going to piss people off, but Van
Here we
Halen,
go.
a
I'm
lot
leaving.
like Nickelback, dropped a lot of hits in a pop rock sort of vein.
Of course they did.
Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if you're a which era of Van Halen you like, but I mean, they had Jump, they had Unchained, they had all sorts of stuff, right? And they were all over the radio. They, if you got deeper into cuts on the albums, it was, they could get a little bluesy. They could get a little off color.
I think they wanted to change that, and I think that was part of the reason why David Lee Roth was kicked out or left the band. I can't remember specifically.
Oh,
what
he
happened.
left. He wanted to be the star, and he wasn't the star.
They wanted to
right?
have a deeper meaning in their songs. They didn't want to talk about like Panama and Jump and just about girls and partying.
But that was the whole. That was
That's
part
the
of the
whole
beauty.
80s.
That was
Yeah.
part of the beauty of Van Halen. Is like when Dave left, Sammy brought the seriousness, and it wasn't.
Yeah, they
right?
restructured their sound when he came in.
And then
right?
Eddie was all about the synth, and all that amazing guitar work was kind of gone, and just I don't know.
He
They had
got
more
back to
magic
it
with Dave.
later
That's
on,
my
but yeah.
opinion. Their stuff with Dave is so good.
Well, from a guitarist perspective, the best Van Halen you got was from Eddie Van Halen. You got was from David Lee Roth, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So he definitely eased up his guitar sound when Sammy came in. I just want to talk about one thing in particular, and like we talked a lot about pop icons and pop stars, but there's one thing that's super common from all of the pop stars that we talked about. They are some of the best and most phenomenal front men or front women in music. Like when you see Michael Jackson, he owns the stage. When you see Tina Turner, she owns the stage. When you see Taylor Swift, she owns the stage, owns the stadium. And it's just like the way that they can manipulate the crowd, and manipulate's the wrong word to use, but to energize the crowd, I guess, is the best way, and kind of like take them along for the ride of the show. You in metal music, for example, you don't have to be a good frontman. Like nobody here is going to disagree that Dave Mustaine isn't a good frontman. He just kind of stands in front of the mic and just sings. But you're not going to a Megadeth show to see a good frontman. You're going there to see guitar and shredding and thrash, right? But you cannot be a pop icon and not be a phenomenal frontman, I don't think, anyways. So
no, you can't. I think it's one of those things where most of them, because I'm gonna get my mouth will get me in trouble again.
I mean, it's a weekly thing.
Most of them are not just standing there and singing, and there's nothing wrong with that. But
there's definitely elaborated choreography.
That's exactly it. You got choreography. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the boy bands, but they're out there. They are, for the most part, they're all decent singers, and they're also doing the dance and they're working the crowd. You see it. Tay Tay does it. I mean, Tina Turner did it. it's something you got to do is you put on the show. They don't just stand in front of the mic. And they're moving and they're grooving and they're dancing and they have choreography. They got the backup singers going. They got the backup dancers going. And they're all doing this, especially back in the day before wireless headsets. They're all doing this and skipping over all the cabling that's out on the stage as well. Right.
Yep.
It's a pretty badass, intense thing to do, is to front a pop group.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it there, Gemma. If you can just highlight that message.
Yeah. Charisma and showmanship is a much bigger part of pop. Absolutely.
You're going there to see a show. You're not going there. Well, I mean, you're going there for the music as well, right? But you're at a pop show.
But you're going for the show.
Yeah, there's more of a showmanship expected at a pop
for the
concerts.
spectacle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas in metal, they just get away with that with doing pyro.
Yeah,
this is a good song because there's a lot of pyro.
And there are bands that will put on a bigger stage show. Metallica's stage show has, really gotten to be a whole thing.
Well, there's a massive amount of showmanship.
Brought the showmanship to metal. Rob Zombie, who is, he's big on the remix stuff. And he's
There's
another one.
Tremendous amount of showmanship for his shows too. Like that you're going there for a show. You're not going there for a concert.
Well, I remember the first time I saw White Zombie, I was like, what is going on? Like, this
Blown
is
away.
not the rock concert that you expect. It is, there is stagecraft going on there. There's more than just pyro. There's and Rob is everywhere. Rammstein, hell of a stage show, but those are rare. Most of the time,
just
it's
watch
a band out there doing it.
Just watch clips from like Rammstein at like Wacken or any of the big shows that they've done, and the sheer showmanship and technical things that they have that come on stage is just crazy. Like where you see the fireworks and pyros coming from, they're like running lines of flames coming from the top of the arena, shooting right down onto the stadium. There was one concert I was watching where they freaking brought a flamethrower on stage.
Yeah, I think they got in trouble for that one.
Yeah, there's a bit of a liability issue there, but
I know Rammstein's had some booking issues with certain venues that are like,
some
we
controversy
cannot
with
have
the band recently.
Their singer's got some problems.
Yeah,
we don't want to be another one of these former clubs that ended up on the news.
That's amazing.
And
that is awesome.
Dueling flamethrowers. Sarah again has brought up a good point, and I believe we glossed over her, but we haven't talked Britney.
Hey, it's Britney, bitch.
It's she came on hot.
Song lyrics are just going to continue on through the show.
I mean, Britney made a mark, right? Like she was right in there with the NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys, and her and Christina had a bit of a rivalry. Right in that early 2000s and late 90s, she just came in hot, burned brightly. Has apparently retired these days, but picked up a bit of a wobble there in the mid 2000s, and she had some stuff.
She had some pretty banger songs. When was she? How old was she when she first broke into the business? She was like a teenager still, right?
15 or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, she was one of those kids that came out of Mickey Mouse Club with Christina and Ryan Gosling and Justin Timberlake, and that mid early 90s Mickey Mouse Club crew really made a mark in their adulthood. They didn't really fade; they blew up further. I mean, and I think she was 17 either. Like he broke out of that NSYNC group and never looked back. And he's turned into an actor. I mean, every album he has just seems to be absolute gold. He's funny as shit.
Because he brought the sexy back. That's why
he brought sexy back. And I don't know, he's been on Saturday Night Live 7 or 8 times now, or regular on Jimmy Kimmel. Like,
well, he was on. He's a recurring
Smith
actor on SNL from time to time. His whole Dick in the Box one.
Yep. Oh. So we had a thing over Christmas about that. Anybody know Adele's last name? No Googling.
I say it's Smith. I don't know.
I just Googled it. Sorry.
Oh, God, Seb.
So I'm not.
You're fired.
I know.
I have no idea.
Mike says Smith. I'm going to say Jones.
Roberts.
Well, let Sarah reveal it.
Well,
It's
she doesn't need a
Adkins.
last name. She's that good.
Adkins?
How about that?
Adele Laurie Blue Adkins. That's her full name.
There we go.
According to Google. So, but Google's
Well,
not
I'm going
wrong,
to trust Google on this one.
Never wrong.
And that's also an interesting thing. You notice a lot of pop stars, no last name.
No.
Madonna,
Cher,
Adele,
Madonna.
Cher.
Yeah.
Haven't
George
talked
Michael.
about Cher. Now, like Tina Turner, she came in the 60s and blew up and never really went away. Faded a bit. She could go out and announce a tour and be selling out arenas.
She's a hell of an actress too.
Yeah, it did a great job in a bunch of stuff.
Mhm.
The Mask, or no, pardon me, Mask, not The
Mask.
Mask, because that's
Thank
the
you.
Jim
Not the
Carrey
Jim
movie.
Carrey.
Two substantially different movies.
Yes, very. Yes.
Often confused, but
Yeah. It's like, I don't understand why everybody says this movie was funny. You watched the wrong one.
Yeah, you're the wrong
yeah,
one.
it's not a funny movie. The Mask, or The Mask is not Mask. Oh my god,
Yeah,
I'm doing
Mask is
Come on.
Mask is a touching film. I mean, yeah. But yeah, and then Cher's like, just when you think she's gone, she drops a song or an album.
Yeah, see, there you go. Tina's real name.
Tina's real name, Anna
lot
Mae
of
Bullock.
people will not
Thank
know
you, Mom
that, actually.
Hyde, for that.
Nobody.
Here's a little trivia. Cher is the only artist to have a #1 single in 7 different decades.
That's crazy to think
Like,
about that.
come on.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, going back to, you got to figure that started with
Sonny.
I Got You, Babe with Sonny, and then just blew up from there. So, I mean, good for her. Like,
Yeah,
I think pop music has unfairly a reputation of being one-hit wonders across the board.
and there are some. There
But
are some artists
there's-
that there's a lot, right?
There's lots. There is lots, but then it's overlooked that people like Cher and like Tina and Adele and Madonna have had huge careers. I mean, Timberlake has been almost 30 years now on the charts.
Yeah. He's
Suddenly
had
I
a good
feel
career,
old
as you
for having
highlighted
said
before.
that.
Yeah. There's also the other thing too to talk about where non-pop bands come out with like a pop hit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Sugar Ray comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you ever listen to
Yep.
Sugar Ray albums, they don't sound anything like the one. I can't even
No.
remember the name of that song.
Is that every morning or something?
Every
shit?
morning, yeah.
Yeah.
Like you can't. That's a pop song. Come on, man. That's
It
a-
is.
100%.
right. So,
And
but
it's-
they're an alternative punk band, or I believe so.
Mhm.
But a lot of
were.
a lot of artists will write that one song for radio play, basically. But you know, I don't know if I necessarily fault that or not. But a lot of purists, they will often throw the word around, the sellout word, the sellout.
Yes.
You know, but
And
you got to make a buck, dude.
yeah, nobody
You
wants
gotta
to
make a buck.
People need to eat.
So
and that's interesting because I would see that a lot when I was working in the record store. Do you guys remember the song Butterfly by Crazy Town?
that's like
Oh,
the
hell
only
yeah.
song that ever got any radio play.
It is the only song that ever got any radio play, and there's another example of that. However, people would come in and be like, "Oh, you got that Crazy Town CD?" And I'm like, "Yeah, right here." It's like, "Is the whole album like Butterfly?" It's like, "No, not at all. I have the album. I still have the album. It is Butterfly is a complete anomaly. Put their name on the map, but it was so different from the rest of the album. It's probably why the band really didn't go too far. I mean, I know they made some news about 6 months ago. I didn't realize they were still together, but one of the two singers got into a fight with the others. The singers were in a legitimate backstage fist fight. Sarah brings up a point. More Than Words from Extreme. Very different song than what's on the album.
Mr. Big did it too with To Be With You.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, so they
And,
came out with a guitar and a voice, right? So
Warrant with Cherry Pie.
I wouldn't say that's different. That's like everything else they ever did, though. Warren.
Well, no, they're on record saying that they did that one at direction of the record company. It's a little more in line with the rest of it, but the lead singer, and I forget his name, just hated that song.
Was that
And-
Janie Lane or something? Was that him, or was that the guitar player? I can't remember.
I don't remember. But
CC
it
DeVille,
was,
and then
it was
I don't know.
it was one of those things where he's gone. It's like we didn't want to do this song. We had to do it, or we were gonna have. There was like a lawsuit or something. The record company had something on them. It's like we had to do it, so we put this together. We hated doing it. I hate singing it, but it's what made us the most money. So I have to sing it every show. And
Well,
it
I mean,
just-
you can correlate that to film directors doing a studio project versus a passion project, right? Sometimes you need to do it to to make money and to like get it out there, and then once you're comfortable in your lifestyle and your earnings, you can explore some of the things that mean more to you as an artist than you would put out for the masses, right? Because there's a difference. There's a big difference between what the world not respects, but the world enjoys in your music and what you as the audience personally enjoys. Like a famous example is Styx. They fucking hate Mr. Roboto, but yeah, that's their most popular song. They will refuse to play that live, but everyone knows Styx for Mr. Roboto, right?
Yes.
So everyone wants to hear it, but Styx is so sick of that song, they don't like it. But
I mean, you see it in actors too. Michael Caine's one of my favorite Michael Caine quotes is, "I've never seen Jaws 2, but by all accounts, it's absolutely terrible. I have seen the house it bought, and it is lovely."
Yeah.
So sometimes you just like, okay, I need to get paid. You see it. Woody Harrelson does all sorts of stuff. He'll do a studio movie. He'll do smaller movies. He'll do a studio movie. I mean, you do it to get paid, and then you have the option to go out and do what you want. Right.
Yeah.
So we're a little over an hour. Let's end on this one more fan question here. What does it say when the most popular song from a group is the outlier from the rest of their album? What do you think, boys?
Well,
they were told to write something for the. They were told to write something for the radio.
That's possible. That is very possible. There's a lot of studio influence
kind of
saying
like,
you need to write this type of song.
Like Black Sabbath and Paranoid. They needed something to finish the album, some filler for a single. And they wrote it in 15 and they wrote it in 15 minutes, and it was like, there you go.
But there's something freeing about that, of not having to care about what the song is, just going out and writing a song. Yeah. Like Living on a Prayer was written in 90 minutes, I believe. Like it was a very quick turnaround when they decided to actually record and write the song. Yeah, that's actually a good point. It's like sometimes the studio makes you write a song because they're like, well, if you want, you got to do this solid. We gave you a record contract, now we're asking for this. You know, the if you see Bohemian Rhapsody, there's that scene where they argue about the song Bohemian Rhapsody, and they're like, we can't play this on the air. This isn't a radio song. And he's like, this is a single.
The length of the song was the problem.
Yeah, and they're like, we can't do this, right? So you get into those battles. So, but yeah, it's another good point. Like sometimes, not so much today because we have so many streaming services, and I mean, radio play is the least listened to at this point in life.
I think it's evolved into streams now.
Yeah,
as opposed to those artists are still being told you need something that is a mass appeal song, right?
Yeah.
Whether you're a fledgling band or a gigantic band, you need.
But back like 10, 20 years ago, the radio was a production, right? There was a certain criteria that you had to meet to be a radio station. And part of that criteria was you have to fit so many songs. You know, in Canada, we have the Canadian law where it has to be like 33% or 30% Canadian music, right?
Yep.
Whatever, right? So, but you have to like structure that in. So they're like, if you want to be showcased on our station, you can't give us a 7-minute song because we'll never play it. So you're like, what do you do as a band, right? You kind of have to decide.
Yeah, you gotta cave.
You write a pop song, or you cut up your 7-minute song into some,
which is also something that people
pile
do.
Of garbage, right?
Yeah,
and
they'll omit entire middle parts of the song just to fit it on the radio, and then you lose the whole essence of the song. So, but Matt, you had something to say. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. The thing is, I mean, going back to the point about the record company's invested money in this group.
100%.
They're not investing money in there so you can go out and do
what the hell
what you
want.
feel is
Yeah.
awesome for nobody, they need a return on that investment.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm not going to defend big record companies and saying they need the return on their investment so they can reinvest in other bands. They do. However, I mean, the music industry on a whole has made billions, if not trillions of dollars in its existence on fucking the artist over. You got to get big, and it's
but not to defend record companies at all, because they can be evil entities themselves. But the amount of money that they put out to bands, like their failure rate is pretty high on bands that they decide to invest in. So they have to recoup that somehow, and a lot of the times it's with more established bands saying, we need a radio hit, you need to give us a radio hit. So
but give us something that's going to get us the return. And that's where we get into these things, like, as we've been saying, maybe not the song that the band wants to write, or perform every night, but the one that, is getting the airplay and getting the ears
and sold and their records sold. Yeah.
Putting an ass every 18 inches when they go out on tour. And, there's lots of horror stories about how bands go out on tour. It's like, this is great. This is fantastic. You get to the end of the tour, they get $4 in a bill. Right.
Yeah. They have an outrageous rider that they didn't actually factor in what was going to cost them.
And then the streaming services are notoriously, lowballing artists. It's like you get pennies per play. Right.
Yeah.
Like Weird Al just had a whole rant about that, because he's, getting played, but he's getting these, $3 checks.
That's a good segue. Weird Al, he does a lot of pop music in his own way. Have you guys seen the movie? I hear it's amazing.
No,
I have not.
With Daniel Radcliffe. So Radcliffe.
All right. Any final thoughts there, Mike?
Well, I was just thinking about what I was gonna possibly throw you under the bus with, but I think I'll save it for offline because I don't want to make you look bad on air.
Okay.
That's
I don't
very
know.
generous of you, Mike.
Well,
I
I
just thrown him under the bus personally.
Well, I don't want to throw you under the bus. It's totally out of context of what we're talking about today.
Yeah, no, I have a feeling I know where that's going. Because I took a little shit.
Yeah,
I was like,
in your raid
I
bucket.
don't think I articulated my point correctly.
no, you did.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean,
No?
I think the only I'll close. The only one that we probably haven't talked about, which we did a disservice to, is Frank Sinatra.
Well, I mean, probably one of the original pop stars,
One of
really.
the originals, yeah. The Rat Pack and the Vegas lifestyle. I think they were in Vegas, for a while there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So,
no, they
yeah.
did. Vegas was
Their thing.
their hub, really. Frank and Sammy and Dean, and
Yeah.
so
Frank
yeah.
Sinatra, the best. One of the best.
Oh
But yeah,
God, yeah. I mean,
Pop music, don't hate on it because you don't listen to it on the norm, because guess what? If and when you have kids, or your kids will listen to pop music, and it's hilarious how people's musical tastes kind of like shift when someone that's close to them starts listening to that music, and then you're like, you know what? It's not actually that bad. We hated pop music for how long? Like, we're teenagers, young adults. We're like, we don't listen to that. We need metal and blah blah blah.
Right.
But
It's not Metallica. It's crap.
And when you look at it, it's you probably do listen to pop music. You're just not thinking about it.
So a lot of the chord progressions are exactly the same.
All
They're
the
just
same.
not distorted. There's different
Right.
tones on the instruments, right? But if you actually deep dive the actual passages of notes and what they're using, it's very similar.
Well, even
It's
my favorite
very
band is
similar.
they are pop music now. Like we
Yeah,
talked about
arguably.
because their music is made to be on the radio now. It never was in the 80s, but it is now. Their stage show is a spectacle. You can you take a Metallica show and a Madonna show or a Lady Gaga, you can interchange them. It's all the same.
Yeah.
Right?
They definitely put on a show.
Yeah.
For sure.
There's nothing wrong with that. It is what it is. When you're the biggest band on the planet, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah,
But
when
it's
you
fun.
hit
It's
a
fun to
certain
see
level, you're
pyros and
bulletproof, right?
Wish they'd write better music.
yeah.
But hey, not asking much. But yeah.
Just
Yeah,
a little
it's that level of being bulletproof where
Right.
you're gonna have your fan base, and it's even if you drop just stinker album after stinker album after stinker album, you can still go out and fill a stadium by going,
Hey,
play old
we're gonna
stuff.
we're gonna play our big single from 40 years ago.
that everybody wants to see anyways.
Right?
So.
That's all people want to see is that one song, and you do 90
or that
minutes
song that was on Stranger Things, that brand new metal song that was just on Stranger Things. Let's listen to that.
But that's so funny
are these
because it
Metallica
brought them
guys?
a whole new generation of fans.
Dude, they went
Right,
back
not-
on the Billboard charts
Yeah, like
because of that
Puppets was
song.
actually on the Billboard charts for the first time in 40 years,
Yeah, it's crazy.
all because of a TV show. It's nuts.
And
Yeah.
didn't it actually hit higher the second time around than the first?
Oh yeah, it didn't do anything the first time. No one,
Yeah.
you didn't even get played on the radio the first time. Like you couldn't. Metallica
I'm
wasn't on the
pretty
radio
sure-
till 1.
I'm pretty sure it
That's-
knocked Taylor Swift off of the top spot too. So Taylor
Probably.
Swift fans were like furious.
Yeah, the Swifties.
But it's funny. It's just funny.
But I mean, they had to be part of that too, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't get there without some crossover. And the problem with that song is it probably didn't do so well in the radio days because, like Bohemian Rhapsody, it's like 7 minutes long.
Yeah,
it's
almost-
not a short
almost
song. So, all right, folks, thanks for joining us from far and wide. We appreciate it. We were talking pop music. We will be back next Saturday, as always, at 9:00 in the morning, because that's when we can all get together.
Yes.
Congratulations, boys, on Mandatory Music. You can check that out. It is out now on Apple and Spotify.
It's not on Spotify yet. I got to
on
get that
Spotify?
done tomorrow. It's on Overcast. It's on a couple other things. Episode 1 drops on Monday at midnight or Sunday night at midnight. And we're enjoying just yammering on for just yammering on.
So check that out. Once we'll get links posted on our page. You can hear the boys. Keep an eye out for the restructured, slightly better formatted, and more regular cheap seat booking coming back with a new mystery project and our other podcast. Enforcing the fundamentals with Doug Harding. We are almost out of hiatus there. He's almost done snowbirding, so we will get back talking sports and coaching and developing the next generation of athletes with that in season 2, as I'm going to call it. So we got lots of stuff cooking here. Keep an eye on our Facebook page where we will be linking all of our all of our shows through as well. You can find all the links there. And as always, join us and get in the comments. Thank you, everybody, for participating. That was awesome. I really enjoyed seeing that. Special guest run in by Miss Mama Hyde there. And
much appreciated,
Hyde.
Mama Hyde.
It's great. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We appreciate it. Like, subscribe, rate. 5 stars never hurt nobody unless you were underneath Rob Van Dam.
And send us chocolates. I don't know.
Good evening.